On top of that, Trump's stance on immigration, race, and civil rights touched long-standing wounds, particularly in cities like Baltimore, which have already endured decades of social and economic struggle. The response? Renewed activism and vocal resistance. The federal workforce in Maryland is massive, and Trump's chaotic leadership led to hiring freezes, bureaucratic delays, and widespread disillusionment among government employees. Many describe the work environment as toxic and demoralizing, not just due to policy, but the divisive tone coming from the top. So, while Maryland's skyline may still shine and its neighborhoods look serene, don't be fooled. Beneath the surface, frustration is boiling over. If Trump continues down the same road, this state may become a focal point of nationwide opposition. Number 7. Virginia. Virginia's bustling cities, booming tech industry, and tree-lined suburbs create an image of progress and prosperity. But beneath this surface of stability, discontent is growing, and it's growing fast. Why would a seemingly thriving state become one of Trump's fiercest critics in 2025? The answer is complex and rooted in multiple layers of concern. Northern Virginia is home to thousands of federal employees, analysts, and contractors, individuals whose careers depend on a functioning, fact-based government. Under Trump, many felt attacked rather than supported. Whistleblowers were silenced, essential projects were put on hold, and entire departments were gutted in politically motivated purges. Further south in Richmond, college campuses have evolved into centers of resistance. Students and activists are speaking out on everything from voting rights to racial justice. Meanwhile, along Virginia's coast, climate-related anxiety is more than a policy debate, it's a daily battle. Norfolk, home to one of the largest naval bases in the world, faces rising sea levels and worsening storms. Here, Trump's environmental rollbacks are considered not just irresponsible, but dangerous to national security. Virginia also bears the weight of American history. From Civil War battlefields to civil rights monuments, the state's legacy is one of struggle and progress. When Trump diminishes that history or encourages division, Virginians take it personally. The political shift is no longer just about city versus countryside. Once solidly Republican suburban areas, such as Loudoun, Fairfax, and Henrico, are now leaning blue, both in sentiment and in action. Resistance here is well organized, deeply rooted, and becoming more vocal by the day. This is not the Virginia of the early 2000s. And if Trump is counting on support here like he once did, he may be in for a major surprise. Number 6. Rhode Island. Rhode Island, with its coastal charm, boutique neighborhoods, and artistic vibrancy, might appear calm at first glance. But 2025 has revealed a new reality. This small state is raising its voice loudly against Trump, not just as a leader, but as a symbol of everything residents oppose. Though geographically small, Rhode Island is a political heavyweight when it comes to backlash. The message is clear: enough is enough. Education plays a major role in this sentiment. Rhode Island ranks among the top for college-educated residents. So, when Trump attacks universities, undermines science, or spreads misinformation, it's felt here as a direct insult, not just a political move. The state was among the earliest to expand Medicaid and invest in public health. Trump's attempts to dismantle these gains hit hardest in working-class cities like Pawtucket and Woonsocket, communities that already struggle with limited services. There's also a strong labor tradition in Rhode Island, paired with deep immigrant roots. Trump's messaging around workers and immigration doesn't just offend, it alienates. For many, it feels like their families' legacies are being erased or vilified. Environmental concerns are equally urgent. Coastal erosion and rising tides aren't abstract ideas. They're threatening homes and lives right now. Providence experiences flooding more frequently, and Trump's rejection of climate initiatives only increases local anxiety. The result? An energized, vocal movement. Student walkouts, public murals, and jam-packed town halls illustrate that Rhode Island's opposition to Trump is far from quiet. It's organized, growing, and ready to make noise on a national scale. Number 5. Connecticut. Connecticut's hospitals are raising alarms about funding gaps, warning that instability is on the rise. Financial experts say that the global uncertainty under Trump's leadership has eroded trust and weakened business confidence. And then there's the widening income divide. While Connecticut is known for its affluence, it also struggles with deep inequality. Cities like Hartford and Waterbury continue to face economic hardship, and many residents blame the federal government for failing to address or close that gap. When Trump celebrated economic success, many in Connecticut responded by asking, "Success for whom?" Immigration is another deeply sensitive issue. The state is home to thousands of mixed-status families. Trump's immigration policies have left some living in fear, others protesting in the streets, and nearly all grappling with the unsettling question of who truly belongs in America. Environmental issues are also reaching a tipping point. Coastal erosion threatens towns like New London, and rising sea levels are impacting the Long Island Sound. Voters across Connecticut are calling for leaders who will take climate change seriously. According to recent polls, Trump's record on environmental issues is viewed as not only inadequate, but unforgivable. On the surface, sailboats still drift across the shoreline, and college campuses appear pristine. But beneath that calm exterior, Connecticut has undergone a political transformation. The disapproval of Trump is no longer quiet, it's focused, strategic, and steadily growing. Number 4. New Jersey. Across the river, the skyline still glows. Trains run on schedule. The boardwalks are alive with summer crowds. But the storm in New Jersey isn't looming on the horizon, it's already here. By 2025, the state isn't just drifting away from Donald Trump, it's actively and openly rejecting him. And this shift goes far deeper than party lines. Ask yourself, how does a state that played a crucial role in building America's middle class turn so decisively against a former president? The answer lies in 3 key areas: jobs, justice, and a long overdue demand for respect. Start with the economy. Cities like Newark, Paterson, and Camden have endured decades of underinvestment. During Trump's time in office, there were promises, grand ones, about infrastructure, job creation, and opportunity zones. But today, many locals say those promises were never fulfilled. Projects were delayed or abandoned, wealth disparities worsened, and once again, working-class communities felt overlooked. Healthcare is another major issue. New Jersey expanded Medicaid and invested heavily in public health access. When Trump threatened to reverse those gains, the backlash was immediate, especially in cities like Jersey City and Elizabeth, where large immigrant populations rely on those healthcare systems for survival. Environmentally, New Jersey faces growing challenges. The state's coastlines are eroding, flooding has increased, and hurricanes are striking harder and more frequently. Trump's rollback of climate regulations wasn't just seen as careless, it sparked genuine fear among residents. But perhaps the most profound reaction came from the state's culture. New Jersey is tough, resilient, and loud. People here work hard, speak their minds, and stand up for one another. When Trump dismissed whole communities or criticized peaceful protests, that defiance hit home. High school students, union workers, and community organizers all responded with one voice. You might still find a few conservative pockets, but the larger trend is unmistakable. From the suburbs of Bergen County to the beach towns of Atlantic City, an increasing number of voters are. Number 3. Georgia. On Saturdays, stadiums still roar with excitement. Atlanta's skyline continues to grow. But take a step back from the bright lights and headlines and ask, what happens when a state's political identity is torn in two? In 2025, Georgia has evolved into a central battleground, not just for Donald Trump's political influence, but for his legacy. And the divisions are only deepening. The state famously flipped blue in the 2020 presidential election, shocking much of the nation. But that shift didn't come out of nowhere. Georgia's suburban regions, once considered conservative strongholds, have transformed. Counties like Cobb, Gwinnett, and Henry are now home to a younger, more diverse, and highly educated population. These voters are engaged, and they're growing increasingly frustrated with Trump's rhetoric, policies, and his grip over the Republican Party. But beyond demographics, there's an economic transformation underway. Georgia's booming tech and film industries have turned Atlanta into a hub for innovation and global commerce. These sectors thrive on openness, cooperation, and international relationships, all of which felt threatened under Trump's America First agenda. Add to that the social unrest. Georgia played a key role in the 2020 election drama, marked by baseless claims of fraud, legal battles, and threats directed at election workers. For many Georgians, especially black voters who form a powerful electoral force in the state, Trump's actions were more than dishonest, they were dangerous. Even in rural Georgia, where Trump has traditionally found support, the ground is shifting. Farmers impacted by trade wars and residents in small towns tired of broken promises are beginning to question what's really improved since Trump's campaign rallies. Georgia now stands as a mirror of America's broader struggle: urban versus rural, tradition versus change, loyalty versus progress. And as Trump tightens his grip on the GOP, many Georgians are moving decisively in the opposite direction. Number 2. Michigan. You step into the same factory where your father once worked, same clock and station, same routine. But something's changed. The factory floor is half empty, the hum of machinery is duller, and that old sense of pride is slowly fading. What does it mean when the very symbol of the American dream starts to break down? Michigan isn't just another state. It represents industry, grit, and the resilience of working people. But today, that identity is under immense pressure. While Detroit draws national attention, Michigan's economic struggle goes far beyond one city. Places like Flint, Saginaw, and Benton Harbor are still grappling with decades of job losses and crumbling infrastructure. The auto industry, once the state's backbone, is evolving rapidly toward electric vehicles. But progress hasn't been evenly distributed. For every new plant opening, another one is closing or moving out of state. This isn't just about employment, it's about identity. Michigan was built on steel, oil, and assembly lines. So what happens when those jobs vanish? When robots replace workers and trade deals favor overseas production? The result is a population teetering on the edge. In some communities, child poverty has soared past 30%. Public schools are under strain. In Flint, residents still worry about clean water. Rural hospitals are closing. The fabric of life is fraying. Politically, Michigan has become a pressure cooker. Every election feels more divided. Workers are split. Neighborhoods are polarized. And with change coming so quickly, people are struggling to keep up, let alone get ahead. So here's the question: can Michigan adapt and rebuild itself in time? Number 1. California. Step beyond the palm trees, Hollywood glitz, and tech giants, and take a closer look at what's really holding California together. Because the truth is, this powerful state is cracking, not just along fault lines, but at its very core. Yes, California is the 5th largest economy in the world. Yes, it leads the way in technology, agriculture, and entertainment. But underneath the wealth and sunshine, this state is feeling the squeeze, from every direction. Start with housing. In cities like Los Angeles, San Francisco, and San Diego, home prices have skyrocketed. Rents are unaffordable. Homelessness has surged to crisis levels. In fact, nearly 1/3 of the entire U.S. homeless population now lives in California. That's not just a statistic, it's a crisis hiding in plain sight. Then there's the exodus. Over 800,000 residents have left the state in recent years, many heading to more affordable places like Texas, Arizona, and Florida. Businesses are leaving too, fleeing high taxes and red tape. Even some of the biggest tech companies are relocating their headquarters. If the very people who helped build California's prosperity are walking away, what does that say about the foundation? And it doesn't stop there. Water shortages, raging wildfires, and power grid failures have left whole towns in ruins. Drought is squeezing farmers in the Central Valley. PG&E, the state's largest utility company, has been blamed for multiple deadly wildfires, caused by neglected infrastructure and poor oversight. Add to this a climate of political gridlock and rising crime in urban centers, and California starts to look less like a paradise, and more like a pressure cooker. California is still strong, but it's standing on a fragile balance. So the question remains: how long can this state carry the weight of its own contradictions?